Alright, we're back on the bike. So working on the wrist pin here a little bit. Things are pretty tight. This side I loosened up already. So here's the way you loosen these things up. First you got to get them beat into the hole. You take your plastic hammer like that and you go beat it on that side, that side, that side, and that side. And you freeze it up, see? So we push the metal right here, you can see little burrs in there. So all we're doing is just pounding the metal back out. The wrist pin wasn't tight in the middle where it runs, it's tight on the outside edges where we had the vice marks in there. So now it's kind of going through. Yeah, it wouldn't hurt if I put it on the hone, but yeah, screw it. It'll be fine. We don't want to make it perfect, something awful might happen. Alright, so I got to put the clips back in here. And you want to make sure that the open end here does not go right over that. You want to overlap it a little bit so that you can get the screwdriver in there or whatever to pop it back out. I use a little owl right here to do mine. Small, gets underneath, pops them right out. As long as these things still look like they're round, like this, you can reuse them. Doesn't matter what they say. Now you just kind of roll them in there is how you put them in. Except in this case, it want to go. Probably can't see a damn thing I'm doing with the camera, but you have to squeeze to one side. Looks like that was the way it was worn before, so they put it in the direction it was worn before. So you got to push it with your thumb. In this case here, it pushed it right on through. In which case you take the wrist pin and just push it up until it goes in the groove. You got to pop in the groove there. See it in there. Now you go ahead and look up in there and make sure it's in the groove and make sure that it's not over that one spot right there. Now these ones here are weak pistons. You can actually slide these around a little bit, get them where they belong. Now Y-scale clips are only 49/48 thou thick. The S&S, some of the S&S pistons and the Harley pistons are 60, 62 thick, 58 I forget the number. They're a lot stiffer, so they're a lot harder to put in. You can't move them around as easy as that. But bigger doesn't make them stay in better, it just makes them different. So anyway, once the wrist pin's in there correctly, you'll hear that nice pop noise, see? So the pin floats back and forth. So that means the piston's nice and free like it should be. Alright, now I can either put this on top of the motor now. Whoop. I can put this on top of the motor over here now, or I can go ahead and put it in the cylinder and then put the whole assembly up there and pop it in. I usually kind of do it that way if I got room. If I'm rebuilding it, piston's already on the bike, I just plop the cylinder onto it. So this time I'll put it in the cylinder first because it's sitting here in front of me. It's easy to do. Okay, we have to do a little cleaning here first. Pull out my nice clean rag. And go ahead and clean off the old residue of the gasket. Try to wipe it to the outside of the bike so it doesn't go into the motor. Okay, appears to be clean. It's good. Even got my clean rag if we need it. I don't need it though. Usually I rebuild this motor out in the middle of a dust storm, so this rag's far cleaner than anything I use out there. Alright. Save this for the track when we need it more important than now. Okay, appropriate tools out. Okay, we need a little bit of oil. We need a cylinder. Almost in that order too. So we're going to put a little bit of oil on top of the cylinder. Only for about the top inch or so. Inch and a half. That's all you need. Don't need a lot. That was half of it. Another drop here. Do the other half of the cylinder. That's all you need. See, it's right up in the top there. When you shove the piston in, the ring shove the oil up the cylinder and lubricates the whole thing for you. I don't lubricate my rings, they go in dry. I do lubricate my skirt and I lubricate my wristband hole. So we'll do that right now before I forget. Ah, cut your finger in there too. Yeah, part of that gets got cut. Alright, wristband hole's done. Get the finger off. See the damage you did to this callus. There's a lot of callus in there, so it takes a lot to do any damage. It's good. Okay, now the rings, they don't really matter what the hell they're at because they spin at about 40 RPM, 50 RPM at high RPM. So they're always moving. The crosshatch angle makes a difference in how much they rotate. So basically, I don't even know where the O-ring is right now. I'll take the two compression rings and knock them 180 apart just for the hell of it. So I don't put anything on the wrist pin surface and nothing on the thrust faces. So the 45 is here where all the gaps go for me. Okay, this is the back of the cylinder right here. Exhaust goes in the back, intake forward. I don't care about the arrow. Doesn't bother me any. So I got a little flat blade screwdriver that's not real sharp. You can push on the ring with. And you got the hammer. Hammer's the most important part in this deal. Alright. So now you got to take this here, blow this up a little bit, you can see it better. Find out where your ring is at. Gap's over here, so that goes in first. You just kind of push it with your finger. And I'm already to the second ring that quickly. Yep, second ring went in, one shot, boom, in. So now you do the oil ring. So you got to figure out where the oil gap, ring gap is. One of them's right there. I haven't seen the other one yet. That means it must already be in the hole. So you just take your hammer and lightly tap it. Go around in a circle. See how it just goes right on in. The other gap was over here, so make sure that goes in first. It's going to go back and forth, and it'll automatically just drop right in the hole. If you have to force it, then you got not doing it right. If you keep forcing it, you'll bend something, break something. Not important. Okay, I lost my wristband. I'm probably sitting on it. Yeah, I don't even see it anymore. I think I lost it forever. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I banged it up so I can get the wristband in there. Boom, like that. That's ready to go together. So I got to put some goop on here. So we'll pull the wristband out so we don't goop it. We're also going to put a little bit of oil up on the wrist pin bushing and the rod. Way over there. So we'll make sure there's lubricant on this here too. Alright. That's all lubed up. So everything's lubed up except for the piston skirt now. That'll be the last thing we do. Okay, do some goop. A little bit of goop. Goop-free motor. Still pretty soft. I like it when it's broken in more. Stiffer, harder, makes a bigger layer. So we go ahead and do the top of your cylinder here. I don't care about getting on the side a little bit, doesn't bother me any, I don't care. So we got a bit of a layer of it right there. That's probably enough, but just for the hell of it, we'll go ahead and put a little bit up on the deck up here. It only really matters on the inside edge. Yeah, you don't need to do all of it. It pulls up a little piece, just take it off. Nothing fancy. Okay. Now we just take our piston here, put our wrist pin back in there, stick it up in there, and put the clip in it. Go. Lay it right there. Next thing you do is you take your rag and stick it over the hole so you don't lose your clip. I have an oil pan so I can get to mine easy, but your motor don't have that. Okay, I got my clip here. We'll go ahead and rotate this in. This looks like the used side because it's kind of polished. So I'll put it back in the same way. Push it in there. Pop. Pop. Rotate it around to where the keeper hole is. Make sure it's in there good. Looks good. Nothing to that. Let me pinch my finger a little bit. Now you take a little bit of oil, put it on the up here in the skirt. You only have a couple, the top couple inches of piston is all you need to lubricate, because this part of the piston never hits. A little bit on the back. Wipe off the excess. Shove it down a little bit. Drop the cylinder down. Cylinder's on that easy. You take your nuts. I got a little pair of stainless washers I put underneath my nuts because I tighten the shit out of them. Put those on there. Drop that washer in there, I never dropped it out yet. I'll have to get that washer I dropped. You gotta remember where you dropped your hardware so you can go back and recover it later. Should have recovered it sooner, but I forgot. Okay, this one goes on the other side. Now you put the cylinder on it, you want to rotate it like this. So it always goes toward the intake port, so I do it. But on mine it's pretty well centered up automatic, it's been in and out so many times. Pretty much has a set spot, you can kind of feel the indent where it goes. So I just put light torque on these, nothing much. It's only about 5 foot-pounds. I'm going to go on the other side and do that side. Take the other wrench with me, so I'll be on the other side. Let's go over there. Dropping weight on the floor out here. Okay, now we're on this side of the bike. Okay, this washer came off this stud down here. There's that one. Now this is that nut I screwed up, which is going to piss me off every time I see it now, but it goes in the back hole. That way I know where it goes. Been using that same nut for 20 years now, so. Damn it. There it goes. I even got sleep last night. Can't even do it. ARP studs, I don't like them that much. I don't care what the other guys say, their stuff sucks. Take a crappy old Harley stood any day. Okay, just pull that down a little bit. Get the other one. So I designed my bike, I put the oil lines where I can work on the bike. Actually, these aren't oil lines, these are fuel lines. This is an oil line. Alright, a little bit of torque, on the other side torque the other half. Alright, let me torque the snot out of it. That's good. You have to have a feel for doing this. That's tight. That's tight. You don't need torque wrenches if you know what you're doing. Now you go ahead and put it in gear so you can rotate the motor. That's looking real good, see? Been over a couple times. Now you can see the oil in it. See how it lubricates the cylinder? Oil comes right up the surface. Take a nice clean rag here. Wipe off the excess. There you go. See those big dents I had in my cylinder you couldn't see very well in the hone? Those are still pretty deep. Another 10th out, I'll finish it up. This cylinder's 10 over, I think, or 20 over right now. I forget what size pistons those are. 10. So when I go 20 over, it might actually clean that mess out. Now you can see how I got a little bit of a polish on the cylinder finish. Yet I still have my deep scratches on the inside for the oil control. So that puts oil in there so to lubricate the rings. It allows them to break in easier, they claim. And then I got my real smooth plateau hone on the top, which means plateau means if this is the home mark here, if you knock this down halfway, because it'd be a sharp angle like that, it'll be like to a point. You bring it down to where it's like this, where it's radiused on top. That gives you a nice smooth surface to rub against, yet you still have the grooves like these would be for oil control. Lets the oil in. So that's a new way of doing it. The way I was doing it before was I just made the whole thing super, super smooth. So you had very little oil holding in a cylinder, but it was really, really smooth. So this is a trade-off between the two different ways of doing things. So, and you got your cross hatch angle in there. On a big long stroker motor like a Harley or a Porsche, you want to run a more vertical hone pattern, not 90 degrees, but about 120 degree like this. On a jet bike, short stroke motor, you run like a 30 degree angle. It's real flat, so it's like a 60 included. So depends on what you're doing. Now this is a really high RPM motor, so it's kind of a toss which one to use. So we'll try that. We'll be back. Alright, back on the motor. Had some interruptions there. So, my motor here, I don't know exactly what compression I am because my cylinder head combustion chamber is cut out a lot bigger than stock. And this is a stock replacement dome piston, which is a Weisco piston. I think they're 10 to 1 rated for. And if you notice, I popped them things out of the hole here about 100th thou. So if you look at the distance from here, from the top of the piston to here, that's supposed to be flush or below the surface. Get that where you can see it right there. So I popped that thing up like 100th thou into the chamber more than stock. So that makes up for the chamber being bigger. So I don't know exactly what compression I'm running. Don't really care. As much as I can run. That's what I do with all my motors. Most I can run is perfect. We're not really concerned about what the real number is. So I'm getting ready to go ahead and put this together. So see, I just dropped the piston down. Now it's flush. Most bikes don't even get to flush. They're below the deck quite a bit. So first thing I do is clean the gasket material off of the intake manifold flange. I'm going to have to reapply that. Same deal, no gasket. We just put sealer on it. When all your surfaces are nice and flush or nice and flat, they're like that. When they're nice and flat, you don't need to have gaskets in anything. You only put gaskets in there because you can't make stuff flat. Or it moves around a lot when it heats up, like aluminum cylinders move all over the place. The iron ones don't. They stay stable, they stay put, they seal better, they make more horsepower, all the stuff is good. The disadvantage is they're heavy and they don't quite cool as well, but cylinders don't really matter. It's heads that make more difference on that. So it's more positive than negatives, especially on high compression motors like a fuel motor and nitrous motors and stuff like that. And wipe any residue up in the intake manifold out. Just had a little loose oil up in there, is all we had anyway. Okay, so all my surfaces are clean. So all my nitrous lines hold the intake carburetor up here where it belongs. So that's why I get all my lines on here. It holds this carburetor up really nice for me. I don't have to do it. So the bike's made to work on quickly. I can do this job in less than an hour pretty easy if I wanted to. Okay, so we got that part handled. So we got to put some sealer onto this, seal on the head side. We're going to put some paint on the gasket here and paint on the head, slap it down and bolt everything together. And the top motor mount and the intake manifold are going to line up the head on the top of the cylinder and put in the right spot. So you can make sure you put all this stuff together before you tighten the head bolts. Otherwise you can have some issues. So that's all part of doing it. So let's go over here on the other side. See what's going on better on this side. Alright, pull that back a little bit. So here's what I use for paint. This is non-smudge aluminum, K-line. They haven't made this shit in 20 years. It's really thick. Ball doesn't even come loose yet. It's been sitting for so long. There it goes. This has very, very high solids in it, which means there's a lot of little aluminum flakes in it. And it's a very thick mix of paint. So it's kind of like sign painter paint, really, really thick. And when you put it on the head gasket, or on the head, it seals up all the pores in the head, and it doesn't burn off. So it looks pretty good. Usually it stays on the piston dome too. But, anyway, this stuff works really good. I was told that Mercedes-Benz and a couple other companies in Europe use something similar on their exhaust manifolds, where they spray them and bolt right onto the side of the head. Cast iron manifold, I guess. But I don't know. I bought a couple of cases of stuff out 10 years ago, or 15, actually, probably around 20 years ago I probably bought it out. And it still works. One can lasts me about 10 years at least. It's good stuff. Alright, so that's good to go. Here's our head. So go down here and make sure our gasket surface is clean here, because I haven't done it yet. Let me take out my earplugs. I'm not running the bike right now. Shop rags have more abrasive action than old shirts do. Cuts the gaskets better, material better. Alright. This port's already clean because I just got done doing it. Okay, that's all in there. Okay, it's all ready to go. Now the push rods are exactly how they came out of the bike, sitting over here on the floor. So we have the exhaust is already situated because they are different lengths. On my bike there anyway. Now these are Crowder Hemi push rods that I cut down and made my own out of. These are heavy duty racing stuff. The heaviest push rods they make. They're thick wall chromoly. I don't think they really flex all that much. See, I do clean my bike whenever I work on it. It's the only time it gets cleaned. Okay, that one's cleaned. Alright, swap rags around. Okay, so now we're getting ready to put everything onto the bike. So first thing to do, we're going to shoot some paint on it. I don't care about the valves or anything, it doesn't bother me. It burns off whatever it doesn't want to keep. I got the piston all the way up, so I just put a little paint on it. Residue away. Knock the piston down a little bit. Wipe off any excess on the bore, in case you have any up in there. We don't, so we're good. Put the piston slightly below the surface, so you can slip the head in there easier. Sit for the paint for a while. And we take our gasket goop, and we goop up the intake surface. Gonna mess. Drip, 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 drip. And drift a little bit on the intake side, so pull that out. There you go. Okay, we'll find our head bolts. Right here. Now these, we put a little bit of oil on them. Lubricate them. You always want your threads lubricated with some kind of fluid. They got oil on them from running the bike, but we'll put a little bit more on, put a little semi-lube oil on them. Kind of off camera there a little bit. Make sure they're real coated. Whatever it doesn't like, it dissipates. You keep your threads well oiled and they don't rust and they tighten up better. So those are ready to go in. Okay. Go ahead and slip it up in there. Put a couple bolts in here. Alright, in we go. Let the bolts drop down to kind of dowel it. Pop, pop. Drop the other two in. Move around a little bit, they drop in. We'll go ahead and put in our bolts here. These ones are from the other side. These ones are from this side. I forgot something though. Gotta get the push rods in now. Can't put them in later. They go in now. Valve open or something. Goes. The valve wasn't in the correct spot. Like pulling on that back and forth on the paint, that doesn't help the sealing any. Oh well. Got my long extension this time. Get better, we can see better. Bring them down until they touch. Still can't see me, can you? See, you working the ratchet up from the top. Okay, those are in. Lightly torqued. Okay, where's the rest of this? There's my torque wrench for the head bolt. One. And there. One. First go around and go back, give another one. There's one, two. Okay, now we give it full torque. That's one, two, that's two. Tight. You want to know what torque that was? Tight. That's what the torque was. Probably 65 to 75, give or take a little. I don't really care. It's tight. I torque down the intake manifold. And it's tight. Okay, so all that stuff's in there. Push rod's loose, push rod's loose. See, the valves are already adjusted. Perfect. Nice light drag on that one. This one's a little loose. It's exhaust, that's fine. They're pre-adjusted. Okay, now we got to put our top motor mount in. Everything should line up. Put a little bit of oil on my bolt. I do torque these pretty good. A little oil on these. I put that little extra washer in there because I was poking through the port. The aluminum spacer goes underneath because that's what motor mount pushes against. Let's slip that in first. Well, these washers and spacers vary depending on application, so you have to remember which one you got in there when you're doing stuff. Make sure you get everything started on these three first before you torque them down. Take my bolt and run it through the hole. Can't go all the way through because the bolt's here, but I can stick it through this way. Okay, pull that about halfway out of there. And go ahead and pull this down now. And torque it. Not a wrench yet. Had it. I always had it someplace. There it is. And these torque down too, just like everything else. That's pretty good. You have to know what tie it is. Bolt got a little snug on this side now. There it goes. A little bit snugger than it was before. It'll wear itself in. It'll self-adjust when it feels like it. And you tighten the piss out of it. It's a 1/2 inch bolt so you can torque it. That would be tight. So that's adequate torque. Okay, so now all the important stuff is in there. Now I got to move the piston back up the top dead center so I can adjust my valves or check them a little better. Well, this one I can see the dome, so I just move it until I see it. Right there. Come over here and check our valve, see what we got. Okay, this one got a little bit tighter after we put the motor mount in it. That means it pulled the head cylinder slightly toward me when I torqued it in there. Yeah, for a street bike you can run that, but not for me. So I need a little more torque on that one. Tighten that up a little bit. Chances are it's probably pretty tight already. Yeah, not quite. I just made it tighter. Tighten both nuts together as much as you can. Okay, that was nice and free now. Good spin, no drag. That's where I like it. We don't care about valve noise. Okay, this one here, pretty free. One little spot I could feel it getting a little tight, but spun itself out. Same as this one. Okay, those are nice and free, that's where I want them. So the intake I loosened up probably by 3 thou maybe, if that much. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to put the oil line in. I'm going to split the difference on the oil on what the rubber length is here. Put that rubber down. So this is using the stock rubbers on it instead of the solid ferrules like I had on the other line I was using. This has leeway for movement. The other one there's no take up for different height motors or anything. Of course, I never have really a problem with the tube. Just bends a little bit when it's tight. It'll stretch out to what it wants to be. Work them both a little bit at a time until they're tight. That's tight enough. Remember, you're squeezing rubber here, so don't need to make them super tight. So all we got left now is put the push rod cover up on there. So that we just use our little screwdriver to flex it up in there. So I use a medium blade screwdriver, about this wide. Works good for me. I think I used to have two different clip lengths too. It's been a while, I remember. Let's see here. Yes. There's slightly difference in length. See, that one's a little bit shorter than the other. Where am I at? There we go. So, yeah, about that much difference in length. So one of these goes in a different spot than the other. Don't remember which one's which though, but that'll be the next problem. Figure that out. Shouldn't be too hard to figure out. Then make sure I get my wire out of the way here. Make sure my O-rings are in there where they belong. Now I have to use double O-rings down here because of the high lift cams I run. The lifter actually comes up and hits the bottom of the push rod cover when you got the from the lifter. Got so much lift in it. And up on this side, the rocker arm moves so much it gets on the inside on the top. So you shorten everything up to the minimum dimensions that they need to be to work. The wire is free. It is. Okay, everything's all the way up, so now we just take a measurement and see what we got here. See, that one's about halfway down. And see, that one's like 3/4 is up higher. So the intake takes the short one, I mean the long one, excuse me. The exhaust takes the short one like I thought it was, but it doesn't take much to figure it out. So see how we're about just under halfway down right now. Very important, rotate them once you're in there. And this is the other one here. Stick it in and see we're about halfway down again. So that way you know you got the right one in the right hole. Rotate this one. You rotate both top and bottom together. It centers out the O-rings and squeezes out any dirt and trash that might be in there. So there you go. That's all back together there on that part. And we just hang the exhaust pipe on there and this thing could be lit off. We actually don't have to have the exhaust pipe on to run it, but it helps. So this has a heavy duty clamp on there that I modified so I can torque it more. So hold on there pretty good. Looks like it went back to the same spot it was before. It's always a good sign. Where is my 9/16 down here. Get all your bolts in. kind of self-equalize there a little bit by beating on it. Damn rag is in the way. Put your clamp on there. Hell out of that. Two exhaust ones in the back here. There's one. Two. Okay, that's all in there now. Pretty good. Okay, we didn't finish up the other side of the bike. So we need a spark plug wrench. And everything else is over there, I think. Pop over the other side of the bike here. Cardboard's in the way. Alright, so I'm going to have a spark plug floating around here. Looks like it disappeared. Okay, we hook up our oil lines here. We take off the little plugs. This keeps the oil in there and dirt out. Really important here at the middle of a dust storm. Now you got to hold the fitting that goes in the head and make sure you tighten the other one. It's best to squeeze them together in your hand like that. You don't have to torque the snot out them, just keep them tight. If you just tighten the nut here, it twists the one inside the head and then it works that thing free. You start getting a big leak. Nitro lubricant on everything here. Pretty good leak on the primary. Okay. And I adjust this so I get the line where I want it to be. It's about right there. I like a nice air gap between it and the cylinder so don't get heat on it. So I like it. Works good when it's like that. No reason to have it anywhere else. Okay, so some of my spark plug floating around. There it is. Come on. Not that damn tired, am I? That's enough torque for me. Pull our plug wire out, stick it over there, and we're good to go. It'll run. So now I'm going to go ahead and work on the carb a little bit. I'm going to change the jet change over there. Take out the dyno jets, put in the race jets, and then I think the low speed circuit's really lean, so I'm going to bump that up quite a bit too. So I'm going to dig up all that stuff and we'll come back.